That's so special. Okay, Sonang, we'll kind
Yeah.
of wait for a few more people to join. But I think that we should start by I want you to talk a little bit about who you are and
Okay.
um, what inspires you.
Okay. Yes, I think I don't know how to start who I am. I'm sure you know me really well, but so actually, okay. I started to work with international school back in 2010, and I am majoring in tourism and hospitality. And actually, I never thought that I would become a teacher. I think I remember when I was little, I was thinking, I don't want to be a teacher, like it's so boring in the classroom, teaching the kid, and then I have to be responsible for them. No way. And my sister is English teacher. So I like tourism because I like to travel and I like to meet new people and learn new things. But 10 years ago, I started to work in this resort. But we also bring this international school from all over the world, basically to adventure around the jungle and the oceans or doing social project. And yeah, and that's when I started to get involved with education. And then that's also the kind of like the door for me to know about like all different culture and international culture and also the difference between Indonesia. So yeah, and then I worked there and I continue my study bachelor degree and I graduated 2015 and then the last 4 years I work in this foundation where I met you.
Yeah,
and 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 yeah, I just started to get passionate about education. I think education is really important, and I realized in my country, if there's one thing that I want to change, it's the education. If we want to um, improve and change a lot of things, I think yeah, like we have to improve our education first, so then people will be aware about environment, about like just so many different things.
definitely.
So yeah.
And I think that that's something that is so important. I mean, not only in Indonesia, but I also feel that in the US, that's something that I'd want to really support and change. But Sondang, the reason why we are doing this today is because you have recently started an amazing foundation. And I think that that's so cool and inspiring to so many people that you've decided during the pandemic. Your life was kind of changed because you were in the Netherlands and then you had to go back to Indonesia unexpectedly. And some people would take that and be bummed out, but you've taken it and created this new foundation. And will you just share with us um, the name of the foundation and a little bit of information about, what inspired you to start it?
Okay, yeah. So the name of the foundation, it's called Menuai Masa Depan Foundation. It's in Indonesia. But
So I'm not, is
what's
that
that?
a name of
Yes.
something? Or is it, yeah, what's the translation to English? Or is there a translation?
Yes, yes, there is. So there's actually a philosophy behind it, like why I choose that name.
No.
Some some menuai it like means harvesting. So and then masa depan means future. So I'm thinking, it's just like the philosophy of when you like put a seed and then there's always time for you to harvest it. And then I'm thinking because I want to focus on education, and it's really related with the future. So I want to help the kids or the students to harvest their future through education. So yeah, so that's why I want to name my foundations that name, because my sister is actually working in a school. It's also like under a foundation, but the foundation it's called means um seeding, you know, like put a seed. So then I told her like I'm done with putting seed. I want to harvest. So then that's why I choose menuai masa depan.
So,
But
so the translation,
was
harvest the seed,
harvest the future.
harvest the future. I love that.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes.
Harvest the future.
Yeah. So it's actually like I honestly did not plan to start a foundation, but I can take as like the beginning of this year. It's kind of like my transitions actually about what I'm going to do in my personal career.
Mm.
So like I think as you know, like I've been working like a lot the last 4 years in you know the foundation that we met, and then I loved it a lot, and we travel all over, and I've learned so many things, and I met so many cool people. One of them is you, and then um, but I think one thing I realized, the more I travel around the world, like the more I love my country more, Indonesia.
Mm.
So like, yeah, I realized like I love my countries because like I love the people, and also I love the culture, and I love the food, I love the place, and then I realized we have so many, but then not many people realizing it. I feel like I could be wrong, but like, and then I think the sad thing about it, it's like most of educated people want to live and work overseas.
Mm.
I could be wrong, but I think that's how, like the way I see like the community that English speaking people,
Mm.
they want to pursue career outside of Indonesia, which is understandable because like of course like our currency is lower than other countries, so then you have more salary when you work outside. But then it makes me thinking like, okay, if all educated people go overseas, so then like basically no one really like taking care of like our country, you know. So like so I want to like my plan is actually I want to move back to my country someday, and then I want to do something from my experiences for the people. So, but I did not expect it. Then I didn't know Corona was coming, right? Like the beginning of the year, no one's knew. So then, yeah, so I went to the Netherlands. So actually, like I went to the Netherlands to take a break, and I was doing Bible study. It's supposed to be for 6 months, and then I was thinking, okay, like after that, I either going back to the work that we were doing, working with international school, or maybe looking for something else back in my country. And then unexpectedly in March, like all this craziness of Corona just coming and then attack the whole world. So yeah, I had to go back home in March, earlier than I expected. I thought I would be finished in June. So then it's actually, so the foundation is actually started. It's just from the social thing. So the last week I was in the Netherlands, I met these homeless people. So he wanted to sell. It was in the Netherlands. Like, can you imagine? Netherlands is like a wealthy country, right? Like, like I mean, like people would think like most people have enough money, food, and everything. But of course, like in every country, there's always homeless people. So I met this homeless guy in the Netherlands the last week before I went back home, and then he wanted to sell a postcard and flower. And then when we walked in the mall, and then I just saw like some people were kind of rude with him, towards him, and then like no, no, you know, like, and then so like we walked toward him, and then he's like, oh yeah, like you guys look so happy. Do you want to buy a postcard? And then I was just feeling like, okay, like I only have €5 at the time because I did not have cash because like we can pay by card. And it's like, okay, I only have €5. So like, and I was thinking, okay, I gave him €5 and I can get like one card. And then when I gave him the €5, and then he was in tears, and like, and even to remember that, you know, like my heart was just crying, you know, like this guy like don't have home, and then like worrying about like where to stay and then where to live, and then like I'm still so lucky, you know, like have house and I can have food to eat, and like, and then he was crying, and it's like, oh man, like I actually needed €5 for me to stay in like a shelter home tonight. And that's what I'm doing, you know, like every day I just, you know, look for people that selling buying my card and my flower. So then I went back home to Indonesia, and then it was Corona, and I did myself quarantine for 2 weeks. And then I heard from my friend like a lot of people lost job, and then more people on the street. They have to wait for people care and charity to have food, and maybe sometimes they eat once a day, or maybe like, who knows. So yeah, like one night, like I sleep really late, and then that's when I was like inspired, and I was thinking like, okay, I should not go outside, but if I want to go outside, I think I want to feed one person. So I was thinking like, actually every time I go out, I want to feed one person. um, then I cannot wait. Was that?
Not sorry to interrupt you, but is it noticeable to you, since you've returned to Indonesia, that there's more people that are in need right now? Is it a
Yeah.
noticeable difference?
Because when I get back, I was really home for 2 weeks, the beginning. So, but I watch Instagram and I watch social media. We have almost like, I could be wrong, like I don't know, maybe how many millions people lost job because they just have to get fired basically, because like all the business just falling apart. So,
Mm.
and then like more people, like on the street, and then I watch like this video, and I just remember the guy in the Netherlands that I met, like because it was real, like I
Mm.
and that kind of person, like they was in tears because like did not have food or home to sleep in. So yeah, so then I was thinking like, okay, like I want to feed one person every time I go out. So that's actually like how the foundation started. So then I was like, okay, like in Indonesia to eat one time eating it's only $1, or like €1, kind of like the same thing. And in the Netherlands it was about €15.
Sure.
So
So, will you explain to the people, because some of the people watching this might not know, what can you buy with $1 in Indonesia? Is that like
what can
go to a restaurant and get a meal, or is there something like, can you explain what you could get with $1 for?
with $1 you can have like a full meal. So like rice, that's a staple food in Indonesia,
Mm.
and then chicken and vegetables and like some other thing. Sometimes if it's in the like restaurants like just next to the street, like the stall, small stall, you can even get iced tea with like $1. So
With
yeah, sometimes we can eat yeah, with $1. So it's really cheap, but like it's still expensive for some people. And then sometimes if when you cook at home, I could say you can cook for the whole family like $3 or $4 per a day. I think I could be mistaken. Yeah, yeah.
And so, okay, so you got back to Indonesia. You decided
Mm-hmm.
once you finished your quarantine that you'd start giving meals at least to one person each time you left the house. But then,
Yeah.
how did
Mm-hmm.
that translate to education and working with young people with your foundation?
Yeah. So yeah, so then okay, I'll tell like a real short story, and then I did that, and then I was thinking, okay, I want to share it with my friend. Maybe what my friend wants to help out and participate and join, like my kind of like movement helping people. And then surprisingly, like a lot of people wanted to join in, and then like even like just €50, like I can buy like a lot of food for people on the street. So then, and then I remember like, okay, like I've given food and I want to do something else that lasting longer than just one time eating. Um, and then, like, of course, I know like this saying, like, don't keep giving the people fish, but teach them how to fish.
Right.
So like, yeah. So then I do believe in both. Like, I think sometimes there is a question we should give the people fish, because they're really starving. They have no energy to fish. Then when they already have energy, then we teach them how to fish. So like, so then I was thinking, okay, like how the way to do it. So I'm thinking like, so after like going on the street, I went to a disabled village group where a lot of blind people live there. And then like also they don't really have like a lot of things to do to get food. And then I also went to the orphanage. So that with the orphanage, I asked them like, do you want me to teach English here and like some soft skill? And then like the guy that managed the orphanage say yes. So like, So that's kind of like my way to teach the people how to fish. Like I feel like education is a long-term infestation, you know, like for the kids. So I started to teach in the first orphanage like twice a week because there's about 35 kids or 40. So then we divided the elementary and the middle school and then the high school with the university students. And then yeah, I teach English and I teach like leadership, team building, public speaking, all those activity that we learn from our activity in the other country, you know, like,
Right.
so yeah.
So Sondong and I worked together for Jump Foundation, and we learned a bunch of activities to do with young people on personal development and leadership. And so what has been like the favorite activity you run with some of the students that you work with?
Um, So usually we teach for like about 2 hours to 2 hour 30 minutes. So I started with, you know, we do kind of the same thing, warming up, playing game, and then, you know, like asking question. And then I realized this kid is competitive also, and I want it. You know? I think okay. I think I live the last 10 years. I work with international students, but I'm Indonesian, and then I still have a lot of Indonesian friends, but I also have like a bunch of international people, and then I have the privilege to notice the two different culture. You know, like so then I could like kind of pick like okay, like you know, from this culture, this is good that I could take. From this culture, this is good I could take. This is like things that I should not take. So like in Indonesia, most people are really laid back. You know, they're like, oh, it's okay, you know, as long as everyone happy, you know, like there's no need to be on time. There's no need to have a goal. Like, you know, not everyone, but most people really chill. And then, yeah, I think I like to challenge the kid to really think about like why they choose something, and then why they thinking what they say an opinion, and also kind of like pumping up with their competitiveness, you know, like want to be a winner in a good way, you know, like so then like I like to play game with the kids that make them like, you know, like on the win, and it was just so funny to watch. And then I could started to tell like which one is like competitive, which one is like a bad loser, or which one is like okay with everything. So, so yeah, I think I like the like activity with like games and some competitiveness.
And so Nung, is your goal to inspire these kids to both pursue their education and stay in Indonesia and you know, do work their career in Indonesia, or do you want them to just be inspired and to continue staying? I guess what is your ultimate goal with the future?
I think my ultimate goal in the future is to support the kids that they can. It's okay, you know. Like I do believe some people really called to work outside, and some people called to work inside. But I would just want them to believe in themselves, you know. Like I want them to have confidence. And I think growing up in Indonesian education, I noticed that's that kind of soft skill, something that we still lack in working with international school. I could totally see the difference. I think, for example, like you know, when we work with the kids, like do you have question, the kids really active, they're like me la, you know, like sometimes they ask question before we even finish the taking.
Right.
If you ever go to Indonesian school, it's completely different. Like I even remember, like, and I asked all my friends, they all agree with that. So we have a saying, it's called like therefore. So therefore it stands for datang, duduk, diam, dengarkan, means coming, sit, listening, and just be quiet.
Oh,
so
that's with going to school, they're just like come in, sit, listen, be quiet.
yeah, because I think maybe now the education develop more interactive and two-ways communication, but most of public schools that people can afford to go, it was just like this teacher explaining, and then the students usually stay quiet, and then we just like we're given like 10 question and then we write down. So students are not trained to speak or to tell their opinion, like it's completely different from Western educations. I feel like, because you guys are really open with your opinion, you really vocal, you know how to say yes or no. And like, I think I want to kind of like help them to, yeah, like I said, to be confident about who they are, and then knowing that they can be whatever they want if they work harder, like if they believe in themselves. Because this kid live in the orphanage, and then like maybe they don't have both parents, and maybe they feel inferior about themselves, like
Mm-hmm.
not having good economy, and then they don't want to dream big. So I myself, coming from like a kind of like broken home family, my parents also divorced, and then we did not have like a lot of money growing up. And also I never thought that I would go into education, into, like, and then going all over the world. So like I kind of like know what this kid feeling, and I want them to like, like, yes, if I can do this, you can do it too, like you should dream bigger, and then like just don't give up with the situation, like. And then yeah, that's why like I give this activity, so then they able to speak in front of the classroom, telling their opinion, respect each other, and then get engaged, be more competitive. So I think that's my goal. Like my goal is yeah, I want them to be able to be whatever they want, in a way that like not giving up with their situation.
That's so awesome. And I think that that's something that every child, I mean, not just children, but every person needs, is just that confidence to know that you're worthy, your life has purpose, and you can go out and do whatever you want. But if you don't do that internal work and love yourself, then it makes it a lot harder to go out and put yourself out there and go for your goals and dream big. So I think that's so amazing that you're doing that with these kids, Sandong. And so I have a couple of questions. Are you working just with the orphanage, or are you also working with schools? How does that work? And then what age of kids are you working with?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I actually want to teach the kids on the street
Mhm.
because I feel like this kid in Indonesia. I mean, I can send you some videos later on. Like if in the like traffic jam, like in the intersection, you would see kids like really small, maybe 7 to 15. They were just usually begging or like singing to get money. And then I don't know if they have education, and I don't know what they're doing. I see them like smoking, maybe using drugs or whatever. And then actually in the beginning I want to teach that the kids in the orphanage, so then like again build up self-confidence, helping them to dream big, helping them to sort out their life or this kind of thing. But then I realized like I don't have a place yet, like even with the foundation. And also sometimes this kid is actually under kind of like child exploitation, I could say. Like some people just drop off this kid, and then they work, and then some people get the money, some dude get the money, so who knows. And then it's kind of like everyone's know about that. So that's why I started with the orphanage, because I thought at least we have a place, and then also have a guy that can like make this kid to coming to the classes.
Right.
So now I work with the kids from first grade into university students.
First,
And then yeah,
that's
yeah. First, was that?
so talented.
Was that?
Wide range of ages.
Yeah, they're really sweet. Yeah, that's why I separated them. So that's why. So it's me and my teacher teaching. So usually we switching. So like this orphanage, we started to teach since May. So we started to like in the beginning I teach them with like knowing yourself first. So personal discovery. Like do you know who you are? What's your goal? What's your SMART goal? And then what's your weaknesses? What's your strength? then after that we wrapping up, finishing up, and then now I kind of like focusing into like leadership, like how to be a good leader, how to lead yourself, how to lead other people. And so then like with this kid, we also so me and my sister teaching, but sometimes I invite like my friends also to help.
Mm.
So it's kind of like in the classroom ways, like but I also, so yeah, it's first grade to university students. And then this week we started a second orphanage. So I've only teach in one orphanage so far because I want to make sure it's stable first,
Mm-hmm.
then I go to the next orphanage. But with the next orphanage, we only do for a month. So I contacted already like the people that running the orphanage, and then I told them I want to run a leadership program and public speaking in English for a month. So we're gonna do it every Saturday, and then that's my goal. I wanna reach as much as orphanage as I can. So like after this orphanage, and I can find another orphanage and find another orphanage, like, and then doing it for a month. And but yeah, so far it's only that. But I told my sister's a teacher in the like high school, and I also told my teacher like, yeah, like if some teachers want to have a training and everything, like I'm really open to help to train them about like soft skill or other things.
That's awesome. And so for that month, you're going to do every Saturday for the next month at this new orphanage. Do you have a plan for what each Saturday is going to look like, or are you going to just go in and see what the students need? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I've already make a plan. So I already kind of like, jot down what kind of game I want to play. In the beginning, of course, to get to know them. But like every day, I put like the best, like the focus, because the orphanage asked me to lead leadership and public speaking. So like I have like main activity every day. And then my plan is to, after that, like maybe I'm thinking to start from 2 to 5:30, and after that, like I'll bring some snacks, and then we eat together with the kids every Saturday, and then the end of the month, then maybe we eat like bigger food, and then kind of like doing celebration. And then because the foundation's already legal, so then I can also give them certificate, like that they've already go through like a training of leadership and then public speaking. So yeah,
That,
so I've already planned for that.
oh, I love that. That sounds like an awesome plan, Sondong. And so how many orphanages are in your area? Um,
Yeah, there are a lot. Like actually, there's a lot of orphanage. Even the first orphanage that I started, it's only 7 minutes away from my home. But I know even around my area that at least I could be mistaken. I think 4 or 5. Actually, there's a lot. I don't know yet, but there's a lot of orphanage. And then I could be wrong, but some of orphanage sometimes like some kids don't even go to school, so like the orphanage that I am working with now, they do homeschool. So like in Indonesia, we don't really do as much as homeschool as I know in the United States. And you guys have a standard, you have a book, and then sometimes I could be wrong, I could be mistaken. I've heard kids that go homeschool usually are smarter. That's what I heard in the US. But like in Indonesia, most people that do homeschool usually because they don't have enough money to go to the real school. So and then
will cost money, right? And
yes, yeah. So this kid in the orphanage that I'm teaching, they just go to homeschool, and then when they finish it, so the government have like basically like a final exam that they have to pay, and then they join in, and then they have to finish and pass the exam, then they can get like the certificate of like elementary school and then or middle school or high school. So like yeah, so that's how most orphanage in orphanage that I'm doing. But I've heard some orphanage also sometimes they don't have enough donations, so they don't even go to school.
wow. How many, so how many kids are at the first orphanage that you started with?
Yeah, it's about Yeah, for 40, I think about 40, 35 to
Okay.
40. That's
That's
why I separate into
the size of
classes.
most orphanages. Is that how many
Was that?
is that how many kids are at most orphanages?
Yeah, the second orphanage, I've heard they have 25 kids.
Okay.
So I am assuming it's about, yeah, about that
So
many kids.
will you continue working with the first orphanage when you're at the second?
Yeah, so that's the plan. So I've talked to my sister also, and I told her like, okay, with this first orphanage, this is could be our like stable orphanage, you know, like then we would actually go there still every week. But then we have other orphanage that we do short program just for like leadership or public speaking or team building, depend on what they need. And then this orphanage we can just go deeper, more deeper into like their English, you know. So then now they learn the present tense, and then we're thinking for the next round they're gonna learn about past tense, so then they can really have those like English like classes. But the other open age we can only focusing on the soft skill, you know, because
Mm,
yeah, because I feel like that's what most schools in Indonesia don't have or don't give the soft skill. You know, like those public speaking or leadership or team building, except if you go to private school,
mm.
which is really expensive.
Yeah, so how much does public school cost in Indonesia for one student? Do you know?
Uh, I don't know how much with public school, but I think it. I think it's not that compared with outside. It's cheaper. But okay, for example, my sister teach in private school, and then she said it's considered expensive
Mm.
for Indonesian. So it's about $100 per month.
Or,
So no, yeah, per month, $100 per month.
so-
But I think yeah, that's a private school. So public school, I don't know how much money they have to pay, but maybe about 20, $30.
yeah, which
Um,
is a lot if you're an orphan or someone who just doesn't have that much of an income. I mean, I
yeah,
the average income is in Indonesia, or I mean, with everyone who's been put in a tough position because of the pandemic, if people are struggling to afford um, eating for $1, then I'm sure that it's really tough to send them
yeah,
people for.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just can you imagine if there is 40 kids in the orphanage, and then the guy that run the orphanage have to pay $30 each kid, and I don't think that's why they have to, they have to do homeschool. And then yeah, even the kids in the orphanage, they eat like really simple food, like rice, maybe like one vegetables, and then one other thing, one dish, and then I don't think they have like a lot of meat, because meat also considered expensive in Indonesia, but it's still good. I've heard from my friend, because my friend said in some orphanages they only eat once or maybe two times. So like, yeah, I think that's why for me also every time after the class I always bring them snacks, because
Oh,
maybe I can eat a lot of snacks, like, and then they can share. So um, yeah, so then usually people like people or my friends, they call to participate and to donate, and usually like, like I was just usually manage the money to make sure this is for snacks, and this is, for people on the street, or this is to buy books and stuff.
and so Sandang, tell me and tell people who are watching this video, how do you get the funding for your foundation? For getting supplies and snacks, and yeah, how are you supporting now?
Yeah, so in the beginning, like I said, I did not plan to start a foundation. I just wanted to help people. I just want to help people on the street. In the beginning, with my own money, because okay, I'm not rich, and I also don't have like full-time job at the moment because like all the companies is falling apart. But I still, like I said, I feel like I still have enough money for me to eat what I want to eat, and like I still have a house. Compare with the guy that I met in the Netherlands, and compare with other people on the street that I could see now in my own country. So like in the beginning, okay, I don't mind. I use my own money, and then it's okay, you know. Like I thought that I could still work later on. I don't want to worry about it. But I feel like now I'm home, so this is the longest I'm home. I want to do something for people. Like at least my time I can use for something useful. So then my friends started to joining. Some people, you know, like okay, I want to donate this much, I want to donate this much, um, and then I started to give on the street, the village. And then I thought for the foundation, I want to open a foundation because I thought to make it legal. And then if I want to ask in the future, I want to ask the support from the local government. So then we have the paperwork, you know, like, so this is legit. Like, okay, like we want to help these people in this village. We want to help this orphanage. Even though it's not money, some people also donate clothes or books. Like if the local government want to donate books, so then it's legal. So to start with the foundation, it's with my own money, but like usually for every program, so I usually tell my close friend, you know, like for example, hey, you know, like next week or in 2 weeks, we're planning to give people food on the street, or like just last week we give noodles with people's on the street, a box of noodle. So there's like 40 packages. So then we give it to them. So usually I will tell people like, this is the program that we're going to do. So do you want to join? So then I will collect the money, and then how much money we get, and then I will buy the food for them. And then with the kids on the orphanage also, then usually I was just like, okay, like have enough money to buy snacks. So it's supported by friends. And you'll be surprised helping people, you don't need to be rich. And then like I think that's the thing that I would tell my friend, you know, like, and sometimes people feel like kind of like not confident, like, oh Sonda, like I'm sorry, I only give this much. I'm like, it's okay, you know, if one person give $5, 10 people will be how many dollar, and then will be how many people will be fat.
Right.
So yeah,
And
so usually
I
that's what I
feel
do. Mm-hmm.
inspired to support your organization and support all of the good your work you're doing to help these young people and feed communities of people that don't have food right now. What's the best way for them to reach out to you and give you funding? Would it be through just like messaging you on Instagram and figuring it out that way? Is there a PayPal account that you've set up for the foundation? What's the best way that people can get in touch and support if they have an ability to do so?
Yeah, so that's why like now I post it on my Instagram, and then usually, yeah, my friend will say like, oh, let me know next time, I would like to join. So then some people will send the money to my bank account, or also people overseas sometimes do TransferWise, or like also my PayPal account. And then usually I have my own, you know, report. So then like I would know like who donates and then where the money is going. So yeah, people could like personal message me usually when they want to do it. And sometimes, yeah, people also just say, oh, I have a books, or I have a clothes. People live here. So yeah, and a lot of people actually started to like tell me like, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then I would tell them, you know, like there is no small or big in helping people. Like helping people is helping people. It's like, it's the love that you give to them that matters most. And then, so yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. And I think that, I don't know, something that I feel is that COVID for a lot of people has put them in a mindset of scarcity, that they don't have enough, or, you know, something like they need to hold on to everything they have because they don't know what the future looks like. But I feel like if we have that mindset of love, and we give when we can, and we share that love with other people, that's just going to continue expanding, and that's what the world needs. Which I feel, Sundong, since I've known you, you've always done that. You've always been such a giver of love, and So I think it's so fitting that you've started this foundation. And yeah, I'm just so excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's yeah. Like I don't know. It just happened like that. Actually, legally, this foundation started to 26 August. It's just like a month, but I've been doing it since kind of April when I get back. And then I was also surprised. Actually, a lot of people when I told them like, "Oh yeah, I want to start a foundation," or "Now I'm starting a foundation," they always say like, "Oh yeah, you know, I've always wanted to do it," and then like I'm really happy you're doing it and stuff. Um, and then they wanted to like help and join with that because then they know, you know, like they have like people that would help to donate their clothes, will help to donate the book they give, will help to donate the money, you know, and then they become a part of it. And yeah, I want them also to be encouraged with that. Again, like I said, and especially in Indonesia, sometimes people really shy. It's our culture, you know. It's kind of like a shame culture mindset. Like you should do something big, then you being a you know, like something big. You should help with the big things, then you're helping people. So like I've always also like again tell my friends, you know, like helping doesn't always have to be big. Like you still help people. So then it give them confidence, you know, like because a lot of people want to help people, but they feel like they cannot help people because they don't have much, but they actually have a lot. They just don't know it, or
Mhm.
like they just not confident at giving it, I think sometimes.
Sondon, can you share with us how you stay, so energetic and with such positive energy, even in the toughest times, and figure out how to even share that and spread that with other people?
Yeah, I think most people would know. Like they would always tell me I always laugh, or I always like find a joy, you know, in everything. I I don't know. I've always like, of course, I have a negativity, and sometimes I'm sad, but I remember, I think like just being positive, it's actually really helpful.
Mm,
So if people know me, that's why the people that help or support these foundations, usually people that know me really well in a way, or even sometimes not, because like they know that like I've always have heart in helping people, you know, so then they can have faith in a sense, like giving their money, or giving their clothes, or giving the books, you know.
they know
And
well.
yeah, then and also I feel like if it is some things that come from your heart, people can tell, you know, like people can see through your face. You don't have to convince them. They will believe it. If you really selling good stuff, if you are marketing and you really believing that the car that you're selling is the best car, then the person will believe it. But if you don't believe it what you're doing, then no one will believe it. So I believe in what I'm doing, and I think that what help people to believe it also.
Yeah, I think that that's so awesome. And I believe in what you're doing too, Sondang.
Thank you.
I want to open this. Anyone who's on here right now has any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll try to answer them. Sonang, is there anything else you want to share specifically about the foundation, or anything that we haven't covered yet that you think people need to know?
Yeah, I think if anything, so I always tell my friend, you know, like if you also have idea or anything, you know, to kind of like help this foundation to grow in supporting people, also just let me know, you know, like I'm also really open with idea or suggestion or anything, because so far usually like it's me and my sister kind of like people that plan about like what the foundation doing with the help with my friends. So yeah, okay, my plan in the future, this is just a future plan that I don't know how big this foundation is gonna be, you know, who knows? Like
Right.
maybe it will become big and then I'll be happy, but maybe not, and I'll be fine, you know, because in the beginning, this foundation start to help people.
Mm,
Um, to basically um, as a way for me to give what I have, like my skill, my experience, and also a way for other people to coming in and then give what they have for people. So I feel like there's no success. Like, yeah, there is a success, of course, but like even right now, I feel like, yeah, I've already given with the people right now. So like that's for me, it's successful. If it's become big, I'll be happy. But my plan, if I want to work with the local government when it's Corona over. So then the certificate that I give to the kids in the orphanage could be approved with the education, the local government education, so they also will have a sign for it. So this is a legit. So we almost get that, but because it's Corona, so that's why we're not supposed to do anything. But it's the orphanage, the kids live there anyway. It's only us coming, so we could still do it, but they won't be able to give approval basically because the school supposed to be online. So and also in the future, I'm planning if there's any backpackers, or people that want to experience Indonesia, they want to come to Indonesia and live here because I already have the foundation. So then they could also have a visa under my foundation, we have like a visa for 6 months for like social education something. So then they could help to teach kids in the orphanage. So I want to be able also to, like bring people from outside and then they can give that experience to the kids in the orphanage and then like maybe do a training. Yeah, if in the future like I want to also train like the teacher from a public school. So then, yeah, at least they have like something, like so then they can also give it to their kids because there are more kids than adults. I feel like in the schools. So then I want to be able also to reach out to teacher and then help them in a way how to teach interactive in the classroom, how to teach more of critical thinking in the classroom, so then help the students to be more confident. And then with the teacher, then they could pay a little bit from the training that I gave, and then the money could support the activity in the orphanage that we're doing. So it was kind of like, like a plan that I have in the future. But for now, I'm doing what I can do now.
Which is awesome. Which is what everyone should do. Like, we can only do as much as we can now, but if we don't do anything, then that's just a loss for everyone. So I'm so inspired by you, Sandong, and I think that what you're doing is incredible, for Indonesia and for the world. Sandong, will you share with everyone where in Indonesia the foundation is based?
It's based in South Sumatra, so that's why it's not really in Bandar Lampung in Lampung. It's not really known province, so that's why this kind of education are not really well known. I feel like So then, yeah, and I think that's why I think it's really important to study. I think if you live in Jakarta or Bali or like bigger cities, the education at least a little bit better. Like in Jakarta, I feel like some kids know how to speak English well, or they're more confident with themselves and stuff. So, but in my particular province, yeah, it's in South Sumatra.
Which is even cooler, I think, that you're in a province that doesn't have as much access usually to different forms of education or whatever. What you've identified, I think one of the most wonderful things to me about this is you're Indonesian and you've gotten an opportunity to go out and experience different things, see different perspectives, and come back and bring back what you think is important for these young people who are also Indonesian. And because you've had both experiences, you're not just a white person like me who's grown up somewhere else and come in and said, oh, I want to fix your education system. You grew up in this, and then you went abroad, you experienced you know, a variety of different opportunities and different education systems, and you've identified what can I bring back to my own country and you know, and support and enrich the lives of these young people in a way that I could have benefited from as well. I think that that is so beautiful and wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think I've been telling my sister, I think that's the benefit. I think I have, in a way, like I said, that's a privilege, you know. I know, for example, how stressful it could be for a Westerner when someone's really late, you know, or and I could see, you know, like how for Indonesians, like how stressful it's like seeing the Westerner being stressful when things doesn't plan the way
Right.
they want it, you know, like so like I have the benefit of I can adjust well, you know, like in the sense like, yeah, I work internationally, so I know how to be on time, I think. And then also I have the benefit of being Indonesian when the plan completely shatter and everything changed, like I don't get so worked out of that. So like,
Mm.
you know, because I could kind of like, because I was a translator in a small island. So like for the university students in America going to a small islands. So like I've noticed it how even to communicate, it's just completely different. And then by noticing it, I know in a ways, okay, you know, like this is, yeah, what we need as a Asians, you know, like
Sure.
um, what the education that we don't have that we could improve. Like I said, for example, telling your opinion and then being confident and, you know, like knowing yourself. I think my friends even agree sometimes like, yeah, because our culture, it's basically, it's about like seniority, you know, like you don't question the older people. So after I noticing, I think sometimes it's because also the culture. When your mom asks not to go out, you don't have to ask the question why. You basically, I tell you not to go out, just not going out. um, no, you cannot answer. Yeah, small island like Kasu Island. Yes, I went to Kasu Island. I loved it a lot. It's one of the person in a small island that I used to go.
Maybe the foundation can expand there eventually.
Maybe. Yeah, I would like to. I would like to, maybe. But yeah. Yeah, like I said, like um I don't know. I never really planned to have the foundation. Honestly, I was just thinking I'm gonna go back home and then, you know, just chill because we've been working really hard,
Hmm.
you know, basically last year and also like the last 4 years. Like I was in like completely different countries every week.
Right.
And then I was so done with the airport. I was so done with traveling and I don't complain right now because I feel like, yeah, maybe it's a year of resting for me. Maybe it's a year for me to give back to the community. And then so then I want to give the best. I don't want to regret it, you know, like thinking and look back, man, I was home and I was not doing anything useful. I want to be able, I told myself, I think, whatever I am and whatever I'm doing, I want to do it as best as I can. So then I have no regret of thinking, man, if only I do better, then maybe this and maybe that, you know, like, so then I won't have that regret. So
And
yeah.
Sanang, I think that that's also so amazing because I feel that it's very easy right now for people to get in mindsets of, you know, everything's going wrong with the world. I'm I'm just done with this year and I'm not going to do anything and I'm not going to, you know, like I just don't care. And so I think it's really wonderful and lovely and inspiring when you can say, look, like I have this time, I have this year, these are the resources I have, this is the knowledge I have, this is what I can share. And you've gone out and done something really big and wonderful. And even if it wasn't big, it, you know, it's like you said, you're just giving what you have. And I think if each of us knew to do that and chose to do that, imagine how amazing and incredible this world could be. I think it would be wonderful. I know we're getting close to an hour on the time, but Sonang, will you tell everyone how people can stay updated with, you know, what's going on with the foundation? I know you all have an Instagram, so if you can share um, that, and then anything else that people should know so that they can stay updated with this wonderful thing that you're doing for the world.
Yes, I think I usually try to upload it in both in a way because I've just started the account of the foundation, so I don't have many people yet compared with my personal Instagram. So if people want to see, you know, what we're doing, the foundation's doing, you could see my personal Instagram, you know, under my name, Sondang Amelia Karansiska. Or you can also go to the foundation Menuai Masa Depan Foundation. And then if you want to get involved with anything, you know, anyway, anyhow, you could give anything. You could even give prayers, you know. I love prayers. You could also give that. It's free, you know. You just spare your time a little bit. You can also pray for us. I receive everything for people. So yeah, just personal message me if you have anything, and then if you want to ask anything.
And will you just spell the name of the foundation's Instagram for everyone?
Yes, Menuai Masa Depan. So MINUAI. My spelling is really bad. Menuai Masa Depan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This way, I'll put a link to it in my story, and then Sondong, I'm sure that is there a place on your personal Instagram that people could click on to go to the foundation's Instagram?
Of course. So you know those beautiful picture? Oh yes, someone type it down. Thank you, Vera. I love you. Vera is a teacher, I think, in Kasu Island. I remember. I miss being in the island with the all the seafood and then like the good people. So yeah, by the way, under my profile picture at Menuai Masa Depan, you can click it. Yeah, I put it there so then like people know. Or if you go to the foundations, also I put my name so then people know. The people, my friends that I add, that they know that it's me, so then they will fall back.
I love it. And everyone, people who are just joining, we have 26 seconds remaining, but Minway Masa Depan, it stands, or it, in English, the translation is Harvest the Future. Sonang is doing amazing things in Indonesia and in our world. And Sonang, I'm so grateful for this time with you and to share about this new foundation that you've started. And I'm so proud of you and so grateful to be your friend.
Thank you, Perry.